Due to high winds on the first day of my trip, I was unable to use the audio. I started my trip near the Coyote Canyon trailhead in the town of Borrego Springs. At this point of the video, I'm just getting started, heading towards Desert Gardens and planning on making it to Sheep Canyon by the end of the day. The 2-night, 3-day loop I had planned was cut short due to an issue with the trails and the map that I was using. I will explain this issue in greater detail at the end of the video. Those of you wanting to go backpacking in Anza-Borrego should be aware of this before you plan your trip. Alright, I put up my tent. I think I made it to the Sheep Canyon primitive campground. Not much here. I'm going to go around the corner. There's a couple springs in the area that I'm going to go see if they are flowing. And I may not have gone far enough to make it to the primitive campground, so I'll find out pretty soon. But unless there's a better spot right around the corner, then that is where I'm going to spend the night tonight. So that was about an 8-mile hike from where I left my car to the Sheep Canyon primitive campground. I'm over here at the Indian Canyon, Cougar Canyon trailhead. I'm going to head this way to see if there's a spring. So I'm headed up this way to see if it's flowing right now. So I've gone up the creek a little bit from my campsite, and there's water here, a couple pools of water. And this right here is Cougar Canyon, which is supposed to be where the spring is at. So I'm going to go up Cougar Canyon a little bit and see if I can find some water that's flowing. Happen to come up here and you're backpacking, just go past the Sheep Canyon primitive campground down Indian Canyon. Right when you hit Cougar Canyon, there's a heavy flow right now, beginning of April. Alright, here we are. We got the duplex kind of backed up to this little part of the canyon. This is Sheep Canyon headed back this direction. And maybe I'll see some bighorn sheep kind of climbing around here maybe tomorrow morning, I'm hoping. And that's the way I came in. I think it's Owens Valley is out that direction, and Indian Canyon is around that corner right there. I kind of move the rocks around on this fire pit so I could have dinner. All right, this is the morning of day 2. I woke up, had some coffee, and right now I'm gonna head back into Sheep Canyon a little ways. So Anza-Borrego has a few areas in the park where the only palm native to California grows. And so I'm headed back in Sheep Canyon, about a mile from where I camped, to one of those sites. I'm gonna explore that area, come back, have breakfast, and then head out. I could see the palm grove right here. Let me show you. Alright, I made it up as far as this little sycamore grove and kind of lost the trail. If I had more time, maybe I would try walking along the creek and see if I could find where the trail reconnects. Tons of water up here though, beginning of April. That's that one patch of palms that I was looking at when I was starting my hike. That looks like it's actually off of the South Fork Trail. So one thing I noticed yesterday on the Indian Canyon Trail, headed up to Cougar Canyon, and again this morning heading back into Sheep Canyon, is that the trails aren't, seems like the trails here aren't very, they're definitely not maintained, and there's not really any signage letting you know if you're on the trail, the direction of the trail. I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm used to, you know, other places you go to, like national parks, where they're definitely it's hard to lose the trail, where a lot of this, you know, yesterday and today, once I got off of the Jeep roads, the off-road trails, there weren't really any signs letting you know if you're going in the right direction. If you were thinking you were going to come out here and relying on a sign that would tell you it's 1.6 miles to whatever campground or trailhead or to the next trail, I wouldn't rely on that, and just beware that something like this, like I started heading back in the canyon and it just looks like it's all overgrown, and you know, even with the map, you know the general direction, but there's no trail getting you there. At least that's been my experience. So the actual Sheep Canyon Primitive Campground, if you were to camp here, they charge, I think it's $10 a night. They have trash, they have a couple of primitive, they look better than vault toilets because they're like open air, so they don't stink. And I don't know how many campsites were out here, but you get a picnic table, fire ring, or you could camp 20 feet away and it's free. I believe the majority of the people that use these campsites are off-roading, overlanding, that type of thing, that backpackers could use them too. Thought I'd take a minute and show you guys kind of the trail system out here. They have these blazes that you could follow, and so when I'm as I was leaving Sheep Canyon, following footsteps, and then all of a sudden I lost the blazes. Yeah, the trails out here, it's just you're walking along wash, and then it's easy to start following somebody else's footprints. So I'm on the Akatia Flats Trail right now, and this was, if there was a marker on the trail, whether it be this trail or Sheep Canyon Trail, it was like this. It was very dated, kind of falling apart, falling down. There were blazes, but just beware that I don't think they do maintenance on any of these trails. And it seems like it's been a very long time since they've done any. Alright, so I am finishing up my backpacking trip. It was supposed to be 2 nights, and there's an issue with the trail where I didn't feel like going the route I had originally planned on doing, and I could have camped another night like 2 or 3 miles from my truck, but it was early and it kind of looked like we might get some weather, so I was like, yeah, I'll just finish it up. Kind of bummed I couldn't do what I had originally planned. I talk about that a little bit in the video about the maps and the issue I ran into with the trail. But yeah, I'm getting close. I think I got about a mile left. I might see if they have any campgrounds at the Borrego Springs, like car camping spot, and stay one more night and see if I could see some bighorn sheep over there. If they're all full, I'll probably head home once I get back to the car. So now for the issue that I ran into with the map and the route that I chose while backpacking at Anza-Borrego. Before planning my backpacking trip to Anza-Borrego, I purchased what seems to be the best map for the Anza-Borrego Desert Region. That map is the Anza-Borrego Wilderness Press Desert Region map. Using the map, I planned an easy 2-night, 3-day backpacking trip, which would be partly Jeep route and hiking route according to the map. After camping at Sheep Canyon, the plan was to get up and hike along Indian Canyon, and according to the map, this would take me to the popular Palm Canyon section of the park. Once I was in Indian Canyon, I realized there was not a trail, but you would just be hiking cross country, avoiding boulders and cactus as you went. That evening, I debated if I should just go for it and hike through Indian Canyon and hopefully find a trail that would lead me to Palm Canyon, or head back the way I came. I decided to head back the way I came. While retracing my steps, I ran into a horse guide that was taking people out on horseback. When I told him my plans of hiking through Indian Canyon on this trail to connect to Palm Canyon, he just shook his head and said, yeah, there's no trail. It's just bouldering the whole way. 2 days later, I hiked the Palm Canyon Trail, which is where I would have finished through the Indian Canyon Trail. And the Palm Canyon Trail is a very well maintained, signs, there's a pamphlet, you could do a self-guided tour, but you get to a certain section of that trail and there's signs saying end of trail. So on the map, whatever trail's connecting you from Indian Canyon to Palm Canyon doesn't exist. It doesn't seem to exist. Again, you could hike through the canyon and you could climb over boulders and you could find your way. But if you're planning on doing a backpacking trip, and you're expecting a trail where you could do 2 to 3 miles an hour on a nice maintained footpath, that is not what you will encounter when going to Anza-Borrego, to some of these trails that are on the map. When I was in Sheep Canyon, I explored a little bit of the area, and it's not just the Indian Canyon Trail. Like I said, it's the end of the Palm Canyon Trail is closed. Indian Canyon seems to be overgrown. Coyote Canyon seemed to be overgrown. Upper Sheep Canyon, once you get to the Sycamore Grove, there's no trail. You're just walking along the stream trying to find your way. And I think it's a South Fork. There's another trail up there that just, again, you could get back there if you wanted to spend all day and you didn't mind bouldering and doing things like that. But they are not hiking trails. So I guess the main issue is when you plan a trip and you look at the mileage, for me it would have been 6 miles on that Indian Canyon Trail, which would have typically taken me maybe 3 hours, give myself 5 hours to really take my time. A 5-hour day could have turned into a 10-hour day or more in this type of situation. So if you're planning a trip to Anza-Borrego to go backpacking, just beware. It may not be an actual trail. There might be a lot of bouldering. Instead of you going 2, 3, 4 miles an hour, you might be doing 1 mile per hour or less, depending on the condition of the trail. The Anza-Borrego map that I used, it doesn't describe it as a hiking trail, it describes it as a hiking route. Typically, I will use Trails Illustrated from National Geographic, and in their key for their maps, they use a symbol for a trail, which you know is a hiking trail that gets used, and then they also have what they call an unmaintained trail. So I feel that all of these trails that I try to hike on in Anza-Borrego that were listed as trail routes should have been listed as unmaintained trails, with the exception of the Palm Canyon Trail, highly used, highly maintained, and is an actual trail. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If you'd like, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future content, or click the box above to watch another video right now.